The United States woke up this morning to a rapidly evolving and deeply consequential international crisis as tensions between Washington, Jerusalem, and Tehran escalated into a broader regional confrontation. What began as a series of targeted strikes has now transformed into a high-stakes geopolitical standoff that is reshaping the Middle East security landscape and raising urgent questions at home about America's role, responsibility, and long-term strategy. As the conflict enters a more volatile phase, U.S. officials are signaling resolve, while global leaders call for restraint. For American audiences, the stakes are both international and domestic, from national security and energy markets to political debate in Congress and public opinion across the country. According to senior defense officials, the United States has increased its military posture across key strategic zones in the Middle East, following coordinated operations alongside Israel aimed at degrading Iran's military infrastructure. Pentagon sources confirm that additional naval assets have been repositioned in the Persian Gulf and eastern Mediterranean, while advanced air defense systems have been deployed to protect American troops and allied installations. The Department of Defense has emphasized that these measures are defensive in nature, designed to deter further aggression and protect U.S. personnel stationed throughout the region. Israel, long concerned about Iran's expanding regional influence and missile capabilities, has intensified its own operations, targeting strategic sites it describes as command and control facilities and weapons depots. Iranian officials, in response, have vowed retaliation and accused both Washington and Jerusalem of violating international norms. Reports from the region indicate an increase in drone launches and missile exchanges, heightening fears that neighboring countries could be drawn into the conflict. At the White House, President Joe Biden addressed the nation late last night, reaffirming America's commitment to Israel's security while stressing that the United States does not seek a wider war. "Our objective is stability, deterrence, and protection of American lives," the president said. "We will defend our people and our partners, but we will also pursue every diplomatic avenue to prevent further escalation." The administration has reportedly engaged in back-channel communications with regional actors, including Gulf states, to contain the crisis and prevent spillover violence. Meanwhile, lawmakers on Capitol Hill are divided over the scope and duration of U.S. involvement. Some members of Congress are urging a war powers review to clarify the administration's authority in ongoing military operations. Others argue that strong action is necessary to maintain deterrence and credibility in a volatile region. Bipartisan briefings are underway, with intelligence officials presenting classified updates to congressional leaders. For American families, the immediate concern is the safety of U.S. service members deployed abroad. The Pentagon has confirmed that force protection levels have been raised across multiple bases in Iraq, Syria, and the Gulf region. Military families are closely monitoring developments, while veterans groups are calling for transparency and clear communication from federal authorities. The economic implications are already being felt. Global oil prices surged in early trading hours amid fears that shipping routes through the Strait of Hormuz could be disrupted. Energy analysts warn that any prolonged instability in the Gulf could drive up gasoline prices in the United States, affecting consumers and businesses alike. Wall Street opened cautiously today, with defense stocks climbing and broader indices experiencing volatility. Security experts note that Iran's regional alliances, including non-state actors and proxy forces, add a complex dimension to the crisis. Over the past decade, Tehran has cultivated relationships with armed groups across Lebanon, Syria, Iraq, and Yemen. Analysts caution that these networks could activate in response to intensified U.S. or Israeli actions, creating multiple flashpoints across the Middle East. International reaction has been swift. European leaders have called for immediate de-escalation and renewed diplomatic engagement. The United Nations Security Council convened an emergency session where member states expressed concern about the risk of a broader regional war. Russia and China have urged restraint, criticizing unilateral military actions and warning against destabilizing consequences.
Within Israel, public opinion appears largely supportive of decisive action against Iranian military targets, citing long-standing security threats. In Iran, state media has portrayed the confrontation as an act of foreign aggression, rallying nationalist sentiment. Social media platforms across the region are flooded with footage, commentary, and conflicting narratives, making independent verification challenging. For the Biden administration, this crisis represents one of the most significant foreign policy tests of the current term. Balancing alliance commitments with war avoidance strategies requires calibrated messaging and precise military decisions. The White House National Security Council is reportedly meeting continuously, assessing intelligence updates and weighing strategic options. Defense analysts in Washington say the situation underscores a broader shift in U.S. global posture. While the United States has sought to pivot attention toward competition with China in the Indo-Pacific, events in the Middle East demonstrate that legacy security commitments remain unavoidable. The Middle East has a way of pulling America back in, one former Pentagon official remarked. At home, public sentiment is mixed. Some Americans express concern about another prolonged conflict overseas, recalling the human and financial costs of previous wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. Others emphasize the importance of confronting security threats before they escalate further. Polling organizations are expected to release updated surveys in the coming days to gauge voter attitudes. The humanitarian dimension is also coming into focus. Aid organizations warn that civilian populations in affected areas could face shortages of medical supplies, electricity disruptions, and displacement if hostilities continue. International NGOs are calling for humanitarian corridors and protections under international law. Energy markets remain a central concern. The Strait of Hormuz, through which a significant portion of global oil supply passes, is viewed as a critical choke point. Any direct confrontation in that area could have cascading effects on global trade and inflation rates. The U.S. Department of Energy has indicated it is prepared to coordinate with allies to stabilize supply if necessary. Cybersecurity experts are on high alert as well. Past confrontations involving Iran have included cyber operations targeting infrastructure and financial systems. Federal agencies are advising American businesses and critical infrastructure operators to strengthen defensive measures against potential cyber threats. As developments unfold, military planners are carefully calculating escalation risks. Analysts note that limited, targeted strikes can sometimes spiral unexpectedly due to miscalculation or misinterpretation. Diplomatic channels remain active, though fragile. For American audiences watching these events, the coming days will be pivotal. The administration's strategy hinges on deterrence without full-scale war, reassurance without provocation, and strength balanced with diplomacy. Whether those goals can be achieved depends on decisions made not only in Washington and Jerusalem, but also in Tehran and beyond. The United States stands at a crossroads in its Middle East policy. This conflict could either reinforce established deterrence frameworks or unravel them, reshaping regional alignments for years to come. As leaders deliberate and forces reposition, the world watches closely, and American citizens await clarity about what comes next. We will continue to provide live updates as this developing evolves.